Jesus and reported all that they had done and taught. Jesus said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a lonely place and rest a while." For there were many people coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat. So they went away in a boat to a deserted place by themselves. The people saw them going, and many recognized them, and they ran together on foot from all the cities and got there ahead of them. When Jesus went ashore, he saw a large crowd and felt compassion for them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And so Jesus began to teach them many things. The Gospel of the Lord.
Being wrapped up in being good or being the best or being perfect, and whatever that image is. It might be to be the best friend, the best activist, caregiver, the most radical, best parent or spouse, best Christian or even person. I feel that we bring so much within me this desire to project a certain person to all of you and to the world. It's something that impacts every single little piece about me. I think about how and when I should smile, what I should do with my hands. I get incredibly self-conscious with my hands up here. How I should tell a story. I start to judge every little thing about myself. And the more important the situation, the more I start to think about that and think about what image I'm supposed to be projecting. And the interesting thing is the more I do that, the more I try to project this certain ideal version of me, the more fake and fragmented that I feel. There's this distance that's created between myself and others, and it becomes more and more difficult for me to just love what I love. Now, some of us might struggle more than others with projecting certain images into the world, but all of us do to a degree, and all of us are always kind of navigating how we want other people to think or feel about us. And I think for many of us, that we always feel like we're failing at that. We're never quite projecting who we wish we could project in the world. And it leaves us feeling fake, fragmented, and scattered within our own selves. And we're often given two ways to deal with this issue and this kind of being torn in our own lives. The first option is to just ignore it. Let's just pretend that we don't put masks out there. Let's just pretend that none of this exists, that maybe it'll disappear. And the other option is to hate the things about us that cause us to feel fragmented, to feel shame about them, and to do our damnedest to get rid of them. But tonight in our gospel and our other meetings, we hear a different way. We hear a third way of facing the feelings of being fragmented and scattered within our very selves. In the second reading that we heard today, in Ephesians, there's this really beautiful language to what we heard, but it doesn't make a lot of sense because it's pulled out of context from the chapter. And so we hear this. Jesus is our King. He who made both one, broke down the dividing wall of enmity, establishing peace, reconciling both with God in one body. And while that language is very beautiful, we don't know who they're talking about. There's something that's been divided, there's something that's broken, and these people are becoming one body again. So when we jump back just a few lines in that chapter, we realize that the writer is talking about the Gentiles and Jews that were now Christians, and they are to live together. And these two groups of people were deeply divided on most things. They wouldn't eat together. They wouldn't share a thing, let alone share a common faith, a common God, or a common salvation. They were deeply divided people. But this reading tells us that something happened, that through the peace of Jesus, through the love of Jesus, through his death on the cross, these divided people became one people. And not only were they just reconciled to one another, they became one body. You couldn't tell where one group of people ended and the other began. They were one unified people. In our other reading, we're presented with scattered people. In our first reading, the people are scattered and misled. you feel scattered and divided right now? Like me, is it your desire for perfectionism and to project a certain image that divides you? Or perhaps it's a relationship that you can't seem to heal. Maybe a goal in your life that you can't just seem to reach. Or maybe it's just a mini commitments and many goals that you have to live in your life and they feel divided. Or maybe it's something on a larger scale. Maybe you feel the divisions that we have in our country or in our world, and those things are dividing you internally. How do you deal with those divisions? Do you try to ignore them, pretend they're not there? Or like me, you try to just beat them out of you, try to get rid of all of those weaknesses, those things that you hate yourself out of you? Jesus today offers us another way as a shepherd. When the shepherd notices his sheep going astray, he goes toward that sheep. He puts that sheep on his shoulders and carries it back to the flock. Jesus wishes us to be whole people and whole persons. While we might want to deal with the divisions in our societies and in our own selves by either ignoring them or hating them, Jesus moves with compassion, takes what we ignore and hate, puts it on his shoulders, and says what we heard in Ephesians today: I am your peace. I have made you one. I broke down the dividing wall, establishing peace, reconciling you with God in one body. In this scattered and divided world, Jesus asks us to follow a different way, to be sheep and a shepherd on his way. God desires to shepherd each and every one of us into whole persons, where peace thrives and division is ended. God shepherds us into being people that no longer ignore or hate the things that we deem as weak or shameful or wrong, and teaches us to be moved with compassion toward ourselves, to put those things on Jesus' shoulders and let them become part of our wholeness, bringing us back together. And when we do that, when we actively work to live into the belief that God desires to shepherd each of us into a whole person, he asks us to go and do the same in the world. He asks us to show the world that there's another way to be, a way that believes that even in the worst situations, even in moments of great feelings of being scattered and divided in our nation and in our world, that we can choose love over ignoring and hate. We can work for wholeness in ourselves and in our world. Mary Oliver wrote, and Jesus Christ knew well, that the soft animals of our bodies were meant for love. Each and every one of us was created to love and be loved. I pray this week that we might have the courage to acknowledge the things within ourselves that we tend to ignore or hate, and wonder what might change if we were to start to love these things instead, if we were to start to believe that Jesus is shepherding us into wholeness, and to then